Let's go to Kevin in New Jersey. Hey,
Hi,
Kevin.
how you doing?
Hi.
I just wanted to say, in terms of trying to get, what are some things that the black community can do to make a bigger impact for change is what I heard you positing before. I'm really glad you brought up the dreadlock case of the little girl. I think there are, now you're talking to somebody who is in favor of reparations, who's in favor of affirmative action. I'm not, I am someone who's very open-minded. I do try to see both sides of every story I possibly can. I try to consume as many sides of media that I can to sort of seek the truth. But the one thing that I'll say that I think would have the biggest impact is I think the black community and white communities, all communities have to work together. And actually, I hate the phrase we need to have a discussion, because I don't think honest discussions really ever happen. And by that I mean there are situations that, I don't all white people or anything, obviously, but there are situations where there are cases, for instance, the Michael Brown case. I mean, if we really want to have discussions and we really want to work together to affect change, it's going to have to be the overwhelming majority of people, which means we're going to have to be intellectually honest about certain cases and not continue to say that, in a case like that.
In the case of Mike Brown?
Yeah.
So what is your so Kevin, here's what I heard happen. So Mike Brown was with another kid. Mike Brown's 18 years old, so that's a kid in my book. Is that a kid in your book, Kevin?
No, not if they can go fight in a war. I agree that it's a kid in terms.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an 18-year-old?
No, I don't.
How old are your children?
14. I have twins that are 14.
Okay, so when they turn 18, you're just going to throw them out the house?
No, I'm not going to throw them out of the house, but I also
make them get a job, go into the war, go into the army. You're a grown up now. Is that what you're going to do?
I'm not. What I'm saying is that the law does not recognize them as a child.
But the law does not recognize them as human beings either, because that wouldn't have happened. What happened to Mike Brown, a teenager, who might have. They accused him of stealing, I think, like a Black and Mild or something, which costs less than $20, which is not even a Class C misdemeanor. I don't know what class of it. That's a misdemeanor at best. That was what the call that came in. When Darren Wilson saw he and his friend walking down the street, if Darren Wilson at that time, because he said he felt threatened, he could have done something different.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you, Kevin, we may see, maybe Mike Brown was a thug. Did he deserve to lose his life? That's the question that's on the table for me. What do you say?
I think Mike Brown is a human being just like all of us. But the problem is we do have law and order in this country.
Do we really? Is it doled out equally? No, because we can't have an honest conversation unless we acknowledge that law and order is not doled out equally. Your 14-year-old, when they become 18, will never be treated like Mike Brown was treated in those streets of Ferguson, ever. Never. And if you can't admit that, then we can't have a conversation. Do you understand that, Kevin?
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. So here's my thing, Kevin. Here's my thing. This is not, up for debate. And this is a reality for those of us who understand it. Just because it's not your reality doesn't mean that it's wrong. Yeah. And you may have a perspective of Mike Brown because of what you've been indoctrinated into believing about black kids. But I saw a black kid rape a girl, because I just watched 60 Minutes. A white boy at Stanford rape a girl who was unconscious. And the judge looked at him, who was also in the swim team at Stanford, and said, this kid has a future.
Yeah.
I can't put him in jail. He brutally raped a girl while she was unconscious. I saw a 14-year-old white boy mow down people and kill them in a car. He was drunk. And he claimed he had affluenza. His parents were too lenient on him. And the judge was like, wow, I can't ever imagine that happening to Khalif Browder.
Oh, hell no.
So if you can't, Kevin, see that there's a disparate way in which justice is doled out, because I live in a society that tells me I'm innocent until proven guilty. So I don't know what Mike Brown did, and we'll never know what Mike Brown did because he did not get due process. That cop, Darren Wilson, was judge, jury, and executioner, and Mike Brown is not here to tell his tale because that man tell no tales. If you're okay with that, we're going to always have a problem.
No. So have I been muted this entire time? Because
you have been, because I have a mute button and I can do it. I'm going to mute you again if you don't be quiet and have a conversation with me. We can mute you again.
The whole time. Can I just make some points?
Sure.
Get
But you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You're gonna have rules of engagement that you're probably not used to. You're gonna do it in a way that may not make you comfortable. But if you want to have a conversation with me, this is how it's gonna go. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna be quiet, and then you're gonna talk. Is that okay?
I have. I've been waiting.
Okay. So then talk. Don't litigate. Don't filibuster. Just talk.
Okay. So. You obviously you threw all these labels at me as I'm being
What label did I throw at you?
You threw on all these accusations that
What accusation did I throw at you?
That I've been indoctrinated. If I believe something, then I've been indoctrinated. That it cannot possibly be true that Michael Brown actually charged an officer and was wrong.
Were you there? Were you there?
Were you?
No. So here's the thing.
So,
none of us, neither one of us know for sure, because all we have is the testimony of the police officer. We don't hear from Mike Brown because he's dead. He's dead.
We had the witness testimony, and the witness testimony corroborated, and the physical evidence overwhelmingly corroborated that all.
So let me ask you this, Kevin. Did Mike Brown, hold on, because Darren Wilson is 6'1", 220, 215. Mike Brown charges at him. Do you think Darren Wilson would die with Mike Brown charging him?
Protocol.
No. Let me just ask. I'm asking you a question. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Do you think that Darren Wilson was going to die because Mike Brown charged him?
His gun, I know that.
Did he? So how was he able to grab for a gun with something? So, because here's the testimony. Darren Wilson, he looked like a demon. He was like King Kong. He was scary. I don't know about you. When I'm scared of somebody, I usually run in the other direction. It's fight or flight. I'm going to flee because you're scary. And my training would tell me, because I've talked to several officers about this, you call for backup. You call for backup. Even in the case of Alton Sterling, who was murdered outside of the convenience store, he was selling DVDs, DVRs, or whatever. The police officers that I've had on this show said, our training is to get for cover, get behind something, call for backup, give orders, lay on the ground, put your hands behind you give it from a distance. You don't charge into a situation where you feel there may be a threat to your safety. Darren Wilson didn't do that. He had the opportunity. He was in a vehicle to not continue to follow or follow at a distance until backup came.
He was out of his vehicle at that point.
No, he was not. No, I'm sorry. I don't know what you're reading, but here's what's instructive, Kevin. You called up basically to demonize a person that's not here anymore, to give cover to a police officer who I still feel did not act appropriately or give enough deference to human life. And this is really what the conversation is. Whether we're talking about Eric Gardner, who was choked to death, there's not enough deference to the fact that a human being is not here anymore. And there should be, if we're people, more concerned about the life of somebody than rule of law and protocol being followed. And that's what disturbs me about this conversation that we're having right now, that's not even in your purview, that you don't see your 14-year-olds in the same vein that you see that 18-year-old who laid in the street for 4 or 5 hours under a white sheet.
No, that's true. That's completely made up. Of course I see human beings.
No,
but what I don't see is if my 14-year-old charged a police officer, okay, and didn't respond to command after he tried to grab his gun away from him, then something's probably going to happen to my 14-year-old.
And what if that narrative is not true, Kevin? No. You talk, I talk. What if that narrative that you've been told is not true?
It's in the testimony.
So all testimony's true? All testimony's true, sir?
No, you have to make a judgment based on how important.
And if your judgment is informed by indoctrinated racism, if your judgment is informed by 400 years of being told that these people are thugs and they're dangerous and they're stronger than human beings, take them down. No, you're not talking over me, ever. If your History is informed by what you've been told in school and what you've seen in the movies and what you've been told in your household, in your neighborhood, and you grow up that way. You may think you love humanity. You may think you're a human being that sees, I only see color, I see people. But I'm going to tell you that you probably are indoctrinated. If that's the case, what do you do to fix that, Kevin?
You don't want to have a conversation.
No, I actually do.
You want to see your perspective.
I do. Yeah, I need you to see my perspective. Here's the thing. Here's why I need you to see my perspective. You having that perspective cost me my life, right, in my community. Me having this perspective doesn't cost you anything. There's not even an equal outcome, right? You feeling that way can cost me my life. Me feeling that you're indoctrinated and possibly racist costs you nothing. That's why it's super important to me that you get what I'm saying. Because Mike Brown's mother didn't have that opportunity to have this voice. I do. I'm going to use it. And whether you walk away feeling like I don't want to have a conversation or not, your life is not on the line. You don't get pulled over and have your stomach turn upside down because those lights come behind you, because this could be the day that I lose my life. You don't ever feel that way. And I know that as I know my name. I feel that way every time I'm pulled over. And when we talk about this Amber Geiger case today, the angst that so many of us had, pins and needles, because we knew that she was probably going to walk. Why? Because we're making stuff up? No, because there's a history that informs all of the things that we feel. So you can call up and talk about Mike Brown, because that's one case. But talk to me about why Khalif Browder is dead today. Talk to me about why Oscar Brent is dead today. Talk to me about why Sandra Bland is dead today, because that could not happen to your wife. It could not happen in this America. And you know why I know? There was a young girl pulled over the same exact day as Sandra Bland who was let go and said, be safe now. Sandra Bland wasn't given that same exact treatment. There's a disparity in this country with justice. And if you don't get that, we can't have a conversation, and that's fine with me.
Say one thing to respond to you, okay? Because I think you need to hear this, okay? I understand what you're saying, and I understand that informs what, your opinions are, and I don't begrudge you that for a second, okay? All I'm trying to do is tell you my perspective of various cases. But beyond that, one thing that when you say to me that you sure as you're sitting here, you know that I don't have those fears because I'm white, guess what? Every single time I've ever been in an inner city, I've been attacked.
There we go. There you are, Kevin. I was waiting.
I knew that was coming.
Thank you. Yep. You have revealed yourself. The hood is off. Yes. Yes. No. This is where it comes down to. You trolls aren't ready for this. Yeah. Don't call up, and here's the thing, they call up with the platitudes. Yeah. They call up with the, I see everyone. I don't see color. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Why do you always put things in? Why is it always race with you people? They always call it with that nonsense, and eventually it all gets revealed.
Comes out. And you know what? Maxine Waters said this at Congressional Black Caucus. She said that we get afraid sometimes now that people are going to say, oh, you pulling the race card, or you talking about race, or you talking about too much. She was like, at this point, she was like, I'm going to play it, and I got 10 more I'm going to play after that.
I play the race card like it's the big joker.
And it's the Trump card. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal is that what your boy does not understand is that 1 in 1,000 black men will die at the hands of a law enforcement officer in this country. 1 in 1,000 black men will die at the hands of a law enforcement officer. So that means that any contact that you have with law enforcement, you have as high a possibility as cancer to die if you have an engagement with a member of law enforcement, if you are a black man. I wish I knew the numbers for women, but I'm telling you that as a black man, I'm a taxpayer, a tither, don't have no priors, nothing. I see a member of law enforcement in my community, I say, let me get to the other side of the street before I say I feel like, oh, wow, this is great.
Officer Snappy is here.
I feel protected and served. Nah, I feel potentially under siege. And I've never committed any real crime other than speeding in my life.
Well, I have. 866-801-8255, but that was in the past, and I shouldn't be judged by anything that I've done in the past because we're forgiven and innocent until proven guilty, and they haven't proven it.